Thank you to the patrons for supporting the channel.
Welcome back. Today, as voted on by my fantastic patrons, we're taking a look back at the award-winning compilation horror game Stories Untold. This is a game that I really like, and I have a lot of good memories playing it with my friends a while ago. Before we get into that though, just really quickly, I wanted to shout out a photography project I've been working on called Liminal Photography. Basically, it is all original photography done by me that is meant to capture the feeling of places that have very liminal vibes. If you like the backrooms or the liminal space sort of image compilation videos, then maybe go check that out. Link is in the description. Alright, let's get started. So, Stories Untold. For those who don't know, let me explain the basic premise here. The game is made up of 4 short horror experiences based around very technical gameplay. Also, similar to Five Nights at Freddy's, the gameplay is relegated to basically just sitting at a desk, sometimes being able to move between one desk to another, and sometimes just sitting in the same place. So it seems pretty simple on the surface. Each game has a different story that appear unrelated, but as you go on, you start to realize that some themes, names, numbers actually seem to tie into each other and work together for a big twist at the end.
The game originally started as a game jam project developed by No Code, a game company run by some of the developers of Alien Isolation. So while it is definitely an indie game, there is a lot of game development experience behind this project. Originally titled The House Abandoned, it swept the Let's Play scene for a while because of the unique presentation. It was the first of the 4 games, and well, let's talk about it.
Like I said, this one was originally a standalone game jam project before being released as a part of the collection.
The main concept of this one is that you are playing a text adventure game and things get a little weird. The story starts to get really meta as you begin to realize the house you're exploring in the game is actually the house you're in. If you get what I mean, like the environment you're sitting in with the computer is the same as the house you're exploring in the text adventure game. Anyway, now the gameplay is pretty straightforward. It's a text adventure game. Text on screen explains your environment, and you type what you want to do. One aspect that's really interesting is, again, because of how meta the game is, you start to use clues in the room around you to solve puzzles in the text adventure. Keep your eyes peeled for code, numbers, and hints all around you. So the conclusion of this game really starts to set up the rest of the games and the overarching themes. Like I said, you start to realize that the house you're in the text adventure game is the same as the one you're in with the computer. As you make this realization, things start getting crazy and the text adventure game resets, this time really creepy. And now, as you begin to walk around the house, you can actually hear someone walking around. Finally, you open the door, and the door opens behind you. Things continue getting creepier until you have to admit it. It's all your fault. What's my fault? We'll have to find out as we continue through the games.
As you can tell, the game was weird, very meta, creepy, and with a cliffhanger like that, people were ready to get into the next game in the collection, The Lab Conduct.
Okay, this was the first of the new games in the collection. The concept behind this one is that you're a volunteer working on a science experiment. You're in a lab doing medical tests on some sort of alien organism, taking orders from your higher-ups. The alien organism seems to be from some sort of crash site, and the work you're doing is top secret. The gameplay starts getting a little more technically complex at this point. As you perform these experiments from the instructions of a scientist, you're tasked with using all sorts of equipment. You move from your main computer to the experiment chamber. Your computer gives you instructions on how to perform each experiment, and from there you have to operate lasers, x-rays, and drills. However, the instructions are very specific, so you'll spend a lot of time moving back and forth, double-checking, and fine-tuning. So after performing these experiments for a while, the alien clearly doesn't like it. The alien breaks out and it begins essentially a mind meld. You begin to learn about its memories from the crash site. From this point, you actually start using the computer as a text adventure sort of way, harkening back to the last game. As the memories continue, the other aliens from the crash start to escape and use you to help them. The scientist starts pleading with you to stop them, but you don't. I also want to point out that when you get these flashbacks, they're accompanied with some strange images flashing. Some of these make sense for the story, but a few of them are a little confusing with the whole alien theme, but they'll make sense later.
Mr. H, please don't do this. We mean you. We mean there's no harm. Please, don't do something you'll regret. Wait. One day, Mr. Asian, this will haunt you.
This one is my favorite. You work as one of a few workers at this snowy Arctic station.
Your job is to essentially decode and process radio messages and input new code. There seems to be something going on in the outside world, possibly alien or war related. At the same time, you're getting story information and some instructions from the other station workers over the radio. In similar fashion to the lab conduct, you have two main areas, a microfiche instruction manual and a radio/monitor. By tuning the radio to the correct frequency, you gain an authorization code, which you then use to get a keyword. Using the microfiche, you have to find the correct lines of code to input from that keyword and send it along. The stakes begin to raise as the outside world seems to be under attack by a mysterious force. Aliens, a new world war, it's not clear, but it's clear that something is going down. People are dying, and it starts to reveal that your task might actually have been to be sending missiles or bombs. Your supplies that were on the way aren't going to make it, and
Just do it. They're here.
Who are they?
something is here attacking the other stations. Then you have to reset your generator. Now you actually get up and walk around. And as you move through the outside, it's clear you're in danger. Something is here. You reset the generator, make it back to your station, and
Mr. Asian, can you hear me? Welcome back.
Wait a minute, that name sounds familiar. Mr. Asian was the name of your character from the lab conduct. Things are starting to fall into place, but they still don't really make any sense. Well, things are about to get tied up in the final of the 4 games, the last session.
the concept here is that you're a hospital patient going through a psych evaluation. There's tons of revelations here. Most of all, that all of the games up to this point were a dream. Okay, is that a sucky twist? Is it a fucking annoying, overused twist? Yes, absolutely. Completely. Very disappointing. That's literally the worst part about this entire game. However, if there were ever a way to do the "it was all a dream" twist, it would be this. See, the gameplay here is basically just flashbacks to all the different games. You get sent to the house abandoned, the lab conduct, and the station process. This time, though, it's very fourth wall breaking. You're aware that it's a dream, and you can hear people in the world outside talking to you. You start to realize that the characters you've been hearing from are people from the outside world. A doctor, family, things like that. So, what's the real twist here? It turns out all of these stories have been delusions in the mind of Mr. Asian as he was in a coma and with head injuries after a car crash. You learn all of the games have been metaphors or allusions to what really happened. Mr. Asian was at a going away party but ended up drinking and crashed a car with his sister in the car. Attempting to rid himself of the responsibility, instead of helping his sister, he takes the bottle he was drinking from and plants it on the other victim of the crash. In the end, his sister and the other driver die, and he is ridden with guilt. He admits to it all at the end and is presumably going to jail after he recovers. Kind of depressing.
Well, I think we've made progress today, Mr. Asian. I guess we should tell the police what you've told us, although I don't suspect they'll take you anywhere. I think you'll be with us for quite some time. Come on, let's get you back to your shows. I'll see you tomorrow.
Alright, here's the thing. I love this game. The aesthetic and the gameplay and the immersion is just amazing. Having such technical gameplay while your character is basically just sitting down, what I mean is the disconnect between what you're doing actually at your computer in real life and what is happening in the game, it isn't that big of a disconnect. So if you just put some headphones on in a dark room, you get completely sucked in. It's a perfect example of how to keep things simple but also immerse your players. And if you're a little too scared to play it alone in the dark, get some friends on a call or in the room together, safely, obviously. It's incredibly fun to try and figure things out with friends. But I will say this, when I got to the end, I was really disappointed with the twist. We'd been building up for so long, and then it all comes to a head with being, it was all a dream, don't drink and drive, good night. I mean, let's be honest, the it's a dream trope is really disappointing. I talked about this in my FNaF 4 retrospective. The idea that it was all a dream may tie things up nicely, but it's still not great storytelling. But revisiting this game for this video and looking back at all the hints it gave, I have no idea how I didn't figure it out on the first game. If you're going to use the it was all a dream trope, PS you shouldn't, this game at the very least made it seem acceptable.
It was clear from the first game, looking back, that this was the intention from the start. It was all your fault, the random flashbacks in the alien crash segment. And when you set up something as big and crazy as these games did, there's really only so much you can do and make it satisfying. Could they have ended it better? Probably. Maybe not outright spelling it out and letting the player piece it together themselves, but any ending was going to be disappointing. That's what happens when you have a colossally intriguing and mysterious lead-up. It's never going to be as good as your brain can make it seem. So in the end, I think they did a fantastic job.
First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone, my patrons, and just the viewers in general. The reception on my most recent videos has been amazing, and it has enabled me to do so much more with the channel. I appreciate everyone who has decided to take the time to watch some of my videos. Also, check out Stories Untold. Even with spoilers, it's a really fun experience and very high quality. Next up, I've got a really big project. I'll give one hint. G. Alright, that's all you get. But after that, we're doing an Ultimate Custom Night retrospective, which I guess will be the finale of the FNaF game retrospectives, at least for a while. Until then, let me know what you thought of this video in the comments, and suggest what I should cover next on my Twitter. You should also follow me there, because that's when I announce when I'll be streaming at twitch.tv/SaganHawks. See you all next time.